Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dojo Talks. We are recording this on October 27th, 2025. So it's been about 1 week since it was announced that Daniel Naroditsky had unfortunately passed away. So today on this episode, I think we're just going to talk a little bit about what's been going on last week, U.S. Championship, the situation with Kramnik and all the controversy around there. And yeah, I guess we'll just get into it. Um, I don't know, where do you guys want to start? What's been on your mind lately, David?
Me. Um, okay. Well, you offered two very different directions. What I've been thinking about is the question of like what should people individually and as a community do about Kramnik and also, does the sad story of Danya inspire us to do anything different that might not have anything to do with Kramnik as well, right? Like people always want to, or I mean, most people, myself included, generally we want to try and pull some kind of meaning, some kind of lesson out of our losses, right? And resolve to do something better or different in the future to avoid future losses. That maybe that's even a peculiarly chess personality kind of thing, but I don't know. I think a lot of non-chess player humans would probably also be like that. So in the aftermath um of Danya's death, um, I was trying to think, what can we do differently to avoid this kind of thing in the future? And the first idea that I fell upon and that I kind of liked and gave me some comfort was the idea of staying connected and close to our friends,
Mm.
and that basically I think most everybody faces challenges at some point. And if you face those challenges alone, they're very hard to overcome. And if you face them while, well connected to your friends and people who love you, I think then humans are very, very good at overcoming
Yeah,
challenges. So that
yeah,
was kind of the first thing that I sort of started to pull together as some kind of thought or some kind of reason or idea for moving forward. Um, and then I've been watching all this stuff about Kramnik, right? And basically, there's this huge, massive, um, almost like communal rage. Tell me, either of you, you can interrupt me if I'm mischaracterizing things or getting things wrong in your view, right?
Mhm.
But it feels like there's like a tidal wave of like anger or rage against Kramnik right now. The huge percentage of people even directly blaming him for killing Danya, saying this is like, like murder by social media. Um uh and other people, maybe not going that far, but saying that he's partially responsible and that, his behavior is reprehensible and that there need to be consequences for him. Um, at the same time, Kramnik is continuing his whole thing, right? I mean, he's continuing to blame everybody but himself and threaten everybody and keep doing exactly the same thing he's been doing up till this point.
Yeah, I'll say that was probably part of the thing that caused the tidal wave of rage was Kramnik's reaction to the news, which
Right.
most people just found like basically heartless, just like really inhumane.
Yeah.
Um, but
Now, I
yeah,
personally don't think Kramnik can change. So I think the fact that he's currently behaving as he did before is like self-evident, right? It's just like that's it. He's locked in place and he can't change in any way. But we could discuss that more later. Um uh but there's the sense of like, okay, Kramnik says people are sending him death threats, right? So there's the question of like, are there people like so angry that they're ready to, punish Kramnik themselves in some vigilante way? Or there's calls for FIDE to do something. So there's the question is, are people going to, put enough pressure on certain authorities of some kind to create a more process based justice or repercussions? right? And we've seen some videos posted titled "Justice for Danya." I found some of them very well done and moving. The first one I saw was from Gotham Chess on the morning when he had to leave, where he flew from the chess.com meetup to San Francisco for the funeral. He posted a video in which he was very upset about like the responses of Kramnik and Sutovsky to what had happened, and to this notion that Danya's friends were being blamed for not having been there for Danya, right? So among all the people that one could blame, or all the places we could look for meaning or lessons about what to do differently in the future, right? Some people were, I don't know about some people. Maybe I shouldn't make the list very long. I don't know if anyone other than Kramnik or Sutovsky publicly did this, but Kramnik and Sutovsky basically pointed the majority of the finger at Danya's friends, saying, you so-called friends even, right? Have failed Danya by not being there for him, not supporting him when he was unwell.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't lump Kramnik and Sutovsky together.
Okay.
Because I think Emil, I mean, obviously I didn't like what he wrote at all, but I do think he kind of like, I don't think he expressed what he was like trying to express, basically.
Yeah.
Because he clearly felt huge remorse for Danya's passing. Like he clearly felt terrible about it. So
Yeah.
I would say he and Kramnik are not in the same boat.
They're not.
But I
They're not
did
in the
think
same.
post
But
was,
they each
yeah.
had mentioned this theme, right? And so I sorry, I don't mean to lump them
Yeah.
together. It's like they're in one party or something like that.
Right.
But they each had touched on this theme of like, where were the friends when Danya was suffering, right? And that had put Gotham in a very bad shape to hear that idea, right? So he posted, I thought, a very good upset video about it, starting to demand some kind of justice. I think personally there's no justice to be had, really, because first of all, there's so many things to say, I guess. Sorry for talking for so long, you guys.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
Interrupt me at will. But on the one hand, I think people are jumping to a lot of conclusions. People don't know yet how Danya died. They don't know what role Kramnik's harassment played in that, right? Some people are saying, well, just look at Danya's own words. Here's a clip of him like saying he's upset about it. I mean, of course he was upset about it, right? He was upset about multiple things, and each of us have in our lives 10 things that we might be upset about. If someone went through and clipped all these dojo talks, they could probably find us upset about 20, 30 different things, right? Yeah. But if tomorrow one of us wound up dead, you wouldn't just clip one of our old dojo talks and say it's because of this thing, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know, but it seems like most people think that they know.
So let me make a point on this topic because I think it's a really important point. 'Cause, we definitely don't know. We don't know anything about like the circumstances of the death or things like that. But I was thinking that before this happened, it was already overboard with Kramnik. I
Yes.
think it had gone way overboard when David Navarra published his open blog saying that he was suicidal
Yes.
over Kramnik stuff and FIDE's reaction. Like at that point already, it was clear that Kramnik had just gone way overboard. David
Yes.
Navarra is also just like universally loved, respected. Even Kramnik doesn't think that he's like suspicious. It's just like he just kind of got lumped in with all this and it still affected him. So at that point, it was already clear that it was like affecting Danya very much. He'd given all these interviews where he's like, this is ruining my life. And I mean, it's clear that it affected Danya's life. You know, if we look at his year previously in 2023, like he's a top streamer, top commentator. Then he like steps away from commentary. Like it's clear that he's having issues dealing with this thing.
Yeah.
And I was watching some interviews with him at like the World Blitz and Rapid, and I remember seeing just like how much pressure he was on to prove himself in an over the board Blitz tournament.
Yeah. He
it's
told me
like-
that he couldn't enjoy any part of like playing. And for context, like 8 years ago, I talked with Danya about like, you're really good at like Blitz and Rapid. Like you should aim to like play in the World Blitz and Rapid, which he didn't even play in at that point, right? I was like, work at it, play in that event. You could like you could be elite in that event, right? You could have a great showing, it'd be really fun for you, you enjoy it. So this is a tournament that to some extent he'd been working towards for several years to go there and play, and he had almost a dream result basically, right? Like he did great and he couldn't enjoy any part of it. That's true.
Yeah.
You know, that
No, I
I
mean,
know.
and it's not okay. It's a lot of pressure, so he didn't enjoy it. That's one thing. But it's just like, so even without Danya's death, it is just so painfully clear that Kramnik has gone so overboard with this
Yeah,
stuff, and it's just very unfortunate that like it took a death for like the whole world to kind of explode over it.
right. And people have been arguing about it back and forth up to this point. It's not like this is the first time that anyone said, "Whoa, it's too much," right? Like,
For sure.
people in one of our videos said, "Why didn't you ever say anything in support of Danya before?" And one of you linked in the chat that we had, right? So,
Yeah. Um, but okay, that's what made Emil's thing so upsetting. It's because like he is speaking from a position of at FIDE. It's like they're literally the ones who could have done something. Like when it comes to sanctioning Kramnik, like chess.com, like they banned him off the site already. Like they muted him, they banned him. Like I don't know, maybe they could have done more for sure. But
what else
yeah, it's
can you do in
definitely
their
like
jurisdiction, right?
in
I mean,
chess.com, yeah, they're not the international governing body. They did what they can do. But like, yeah, like
but
FIDE is the one that's normally acting on these things.
I'm curious what you think FIDE can do though, because I'm
Um, well, we can get into it. Jesse, did you
yeah.
have any did you want to jump in on anything
Sure.
there? Yeah.
I find what's helpful for me to think this through is to think about the later Fisher. Okay, so later Fisher, we have just a spew of things he's saying, anti-Semitic stuff, conspiratorial stuff, F America stuff, and also the claim that the Karpov-Kasparov matches were rigged, in addition to all kinds of other things that he saw as chess being rigged.
Yeah.
So I think the way that the chess world basically dealt with that one was to view it as an embarrassment and to try not to platform it at all, i.e. just kind of like, oh, like people didn't want to touch it. It's just like, oh God, this is really embarrassing. Now, when you go online and you start like thinking about what was his condition, there's all kinds of different people who are qualified psychologists, and they all give different pathologies of what was going on with Fisher, right? Different names of fancy words with a lot of syllables in them. But at the end of the day, it's clear, like, at the very least, if you're not a psychologist, you would have to use the word unhinged, right? Something is going on, very unclear exactly what it is.
Right.
So the first thing I just want to say is, it's in hindsight, it's ridiculous to make a claim to say something like, well, we're going to strip his GM or world championship status. That's what a lot of things people are saying that about Kramnik in the heat of the moment. But you think about Fischer's case, it was like, that's ridiculous. The guy clearly lost his mind and became unhinged. And you can't undo history, right? You can't undo history. And
Right.
there's a lot of world champions. We had a whole episode on this. A lot of world champions who've lost their mind. It's a thing that's like a thing that's so statistically significant. You got to be like, oh, well, something's going on here, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to say is with Kramnik, one of the reasons it was so difficult to deal with is instead of it being a spew like Fischer, where he's just saying all kinds of stuff, he got obsessed about this one thing. And there's a lot of it that's a little bit like an old man fighting technology thing that's going on with Kramnik. And I want to say, as an old guy who has fought technology, I understand a little bit about this phenomenon. He doesn't know how to use the mouse, for example. I've seen this on his splits. I tried to, I broke 2,800 without being able to pre-move. And people were like, "Right, you can pre-move." No, we can't. And like the old guys, we just don't know how to do it. We didn't grow up doing it, and Kramnik can't do it. So when he loses to chumps, he's losing his mind. He thinks there has to be some reason that he's getting cheated out of winning these games. And then he also has no experience with social media. So then when when this first started going on, he started just doubling and tripling down when people were calling him out. Because remember, this all began with him saying he was going to publish these statistics, and they were foolish, what? And then people were calling him out, and he just kept doubling down because he couldn't become honest in this world where he thought he was on top of the world. He's a world chess champion. So one of the things I want to we can talk about this forever, but I want to say we are mildly guilty ourselves because we platformed the guy. And in the worst, hands down, podcast of Dojo Talks, this is what happened, you guys. So there was usually we have our technical stuff figured out, but I don't remember exactly what it was. It was about 2 years ago. And
me and David were together in Spain, and our Wi-Fi was so janky we couldn't participate in the conversation.
Yeah.
So it was basically you and Kramnik talking the whole time.
So it's just me, and it wasn't me and Kramnik talking. It was Kramnik talking. I got just a word in here and there, and it was definitely the worst thing ever because the guy just kept talking, and I just wanted to say it was very important to me as a chess fan, as someone who at one point in their life was a huge Kramnik fan, that he reflect on the anger that was driving him, because he was not having any moment of reflection of this is driving me crazy, right? At that point, no one had died. It was just this thing. And it was even though it was just this one issue, it was like Fischer, and that it was a spew on everyone. It wasn't just Danya. It was so many different people. Basically, he was accusing almost everyone who was playing top blitz chess of being a cheater, right? So it was already in the Fischer realm for me because it was this is clearly insane, right?
Well, okay, let me jump in here. So,
okay,
obviously, none of us are qualified to diagnose his mental health or anything like that. And I think this point gets really sticky because mental health is such a complicated thing.
Yeah.
And it's insulting for people to question your mental health. I think that was a big part of it for Kramnik, because in his mind, he's of sound mind.
So
and I do
Fischer.
believe that he is I've been hearing this theory more and more that basically he just has a war with chess.com, and he saw Danya as the face of chess.com, being their number one commentator and kind of superstar. He also sees Naka in this way. So he really wanted to go after these guys kind of to take down chess.com. But back to the mental health thing, I watched a ton of Kramnik videos and interviews, and it's clear that he personally is very insulted whenever people question his mental health. As I think many people would be. If you're making content and videos on whatever, and then people's response is not to argue with let's say the evidence and facts you're presenting and so on, but to just call you insane, that is insulting. That's just insulting to anyone.
Can I interject something, Kostya? Yeah. If somebody in a friendly way, or in a non-mean way, doesn't have to be friendly, neutral, in a neutral way, said that they had concerns about my mental health, I wouldn't be offended. I would be interested in knowing about it. And in Kramnik's case, people have tried to argue with his points. Many people have taken on the substance of what he said, right? It's not like he says, I think the earth is purple, and people say, lol, you're crazy. First, they try and tell him, well, look, here's a picture of the earth, and this is, what this color looks like, and here's,
for sure,
500 experts on color telling you that this is blue and this is green, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was unable to take on any of that, which is why many people have rightly concluded that he has lost touch with reality, because he's not able to accept any rational arguments about stuff. So then the conclusion becomes, oh, the person's crazy.
No, I totally get that. But all this stuff, I think we have to realize, is coming through the internet, through social media. It's all kind of adversarial, right? It's different when some anonymous person, right, is concerned for his mental health versus someone that's actually close to him and offline, right? It's a very big difference between anything someone says online for the public and someone something that they say to him privately.
And I just want to say, Kostya, I'm sure if we had the chance to talk to Fischer, he would also say he was of totally sound mind. It's hard to imagine that as a chess fan saying that, because I mean, unhinged is the word that comes to mind.
Well, so you
But
guys
so
don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that Kramnik is like acting rationally. And then I like what I was really trying to get at is although we're not experts like in mental health, right? And so we can't really diagnose what's going on. I mean, it could be all kinds
Mhm.
of different stuff. I just
Mhm.
wanted to point to several behaviors that Kramnik exhibited that like are just strange. So, for
Right?
instance, this is someone who is chronically online, reads comments constantly.
Yeah.
And I know he does because like when he speaks, like he's very aware of what people are saying about him. So
That's
he's
right.
reading the barrage of like Twitter stuff directed at him. He's reading YouTube comments. He
That's
Yeah.
reads the YouTube comments on our videos about him, on other people's videos about him. He reads Reddit nonstop. And this is something that people do when they're just on the internet. This is not behavior from like a former world champion. I've gone on the internet a bunch of times, like argued with people on Reddit about stupid stuff, argued with people on Twitter. Every time I just feel like, what am I doing? Like, why am I wasting
Yeah.
my time with this nonsense?
Mhm.
And my status compared to Kramnik, extremely minimal. So
Yeah.
this is like, it's just so hard to imagine a grandmaster, let alone like a world champion spending all. Another thing, it's like it's come out that Kramnik has alt accounts on Reddit and Twitter
Mhm.
and YouTube where he chimes in and defends himself. And we don't know for sure that there is alt accounts, but it's very clear because Kramnik's English is not very good. It's pretty broken. And it's pretty broken in a specific way, especially when he's typing. So he has these patterns, people on Reddit are very good at spotting. And I've experienced with this from running our Discord server. Like, sometimes we ban someone from our Discord, and a few weeks later, a new account pops up and they're just chatting in the exact same way. And you can just tell, like, oh, this is the same person. And
That-
so this is weird behavior for someone of such a high status of a world champion, right? So it's like
Yeah.
that's kind of what I want to get at. It's like I don't, it doesn't make sense to speculate on what is going on in someone's mind necessarily, but like these behaviors are so strange for someone that's so successful.
I think if you're dealing with someone, it makes sense to speculate on what's going on inside their mind. It's a useful thing to do. We're supposed to try and understand each other,
Yeah.
for good or for bad.
And I don't know why it's a surprise when you look at Morphy, Steinitz, Fisher, Kasparov with Kasparov's not insane, but he's got conspiracy theories. So we have a long list of world champions that we've discussed. It's like statistically, it's not shouldn't be surprising when somebody like Kravnik loses their mind, right? I mean, we should be
No, I
like,
don't
oh,
know.
it's something. This is a pattern. I'm seeing a pattern.
No, I don't know. I think it is surprising. So I watched a video from Levitov chess recently. And so it was Ilya Levitov and Grandmaster Shimanov. I think they do a podcast together or something, but
Yeah.
they were discussing all this stuff. So Levitov, of course, had Kramnik and Danya on his show some time ago when they basically had like a big back and forth. And I remember watching that, and I didn't think Levitov was necessarily against Danya. I remember thinking that he was actually doing his best to be neutral because he and Kramnik have a very long history. He wrote a book on Kramnik with Bereyev, Kramnik's longtime second. So I'm sure he's known Kramnik for many years. They used to be friends and so on. So I remember watching that interview, and I didn't think Ilya was necessarily on Kramnik's side. I think he was actually doing his best to be neutral. But in his recent video, like he has since kind of completely turned on Kramnik. He was saying all this stuff like, I have no idea who this person is anymore. Like I have no idea who I was friends with.
Right.
And they were mainly reacting to Kramnik's response to the news of Danya. So
Right.
just that Kramnik had showed like zero emotion. And at this point, like a lot of us have already like kind of given up on Kramnik, but it was clear that Levitov and maybe Shimanov as well, they were still kind of expecting Kramnik to show at least some. And to be fair, I also was surprised by just how ugly Kramnik's like response was. I also thought even he would be like even he would say he would say nothing, which was probably the most appropriate thing, or he would just give some words of solace, just like and not right. So
You could say, this is awful, this is really sad, and it's not what I was hoping to accomplish.
at bare minimum, yeah. I mean, So so that was interesting to me. Like Levatov, of course, probably again known Kramnik for many years, so he was quite like shocked by the response. And um yeah, so okay, this is starting to get into a different topic, but like the comments on that video were pretty weird. And people can go to it and use Google Translate because they're all in Russian. But a lot of the comments, some of the comments were blaming Ilya for attacking Danya in the past. But a lot of the comments were just like, "Oh, Ilya's lost his mind." Like it seemed like a lot of the comments in Russian were actually defending Kramnik, which is very strange because it's like on the Levatov chess channel. So it's like Ilya Levatov, he's the main guy. Presumably, it's his fans that are watching, and even they were like, "Oh, you've lost," like because
Well, I
he,
think
I mean, the whole episode he's like attacking, they're attacking Kramnik left and right and saying all this stuff, and so the comments were like very against that.
Well, I think one of the threads of the whole story that has to be put out there that is very crucial to understanding the pressure Naroditsky was under is from, let's say, an English-speaking perspective, Kramnik was largely taken off of any kind of meaningful platforms. People weren't really talking about him. But in the Russian-speaking community, he does still have a huge amount of people who were very outspoken against, say, Naroditsky as an example, and the other people that Kramnik accused. And because Danya spoke Russian, that he knew all about it. And unfortunately was reading all that stuff. So I think, first of all, to me, the most unfortunate thing about it is that despite the guy feeling completely unhinged to just about everyone else, Danya was still taking it very seriously. And it unfortunately really, really got to him and he couldn't let it go. So that was one of the sad things about it, where I feel like a lot of the other people just let it slide. And part of it was this whole Russian community that was like an army behind him. Also, this is another weird thing. The other really weird thing about this is who's the last supporter in the English-speaking world, prominent supporter of Kramnik? It's Neiman, dude. And Neiman isn't backing down, and it's like this weird marriage where Neiman felt persecuted and now he sees Kramnik as being persecuted. And of course they had worked together a little bit, and that is weird, dude. And so this controversy, in a way, it's not like, it feels like everyone is against Kramnik, but there's like this couple weird people out there who are still on his side.
Yeah, I mean, I think that list is really dwindling. The thing you brought up about like the Russian community, I think that is important. And yeah, it is sad that like I mean, I remember when we had that podcast about Kramnik going after Danya. And yeah, I don't know. I felt like we were doing the right thing by kind of like speaking up about it, but at the same time, I also felt like maybe it was a mistake because we're also like bringing attention to it. We're kind of, I mean, I remember we were very much on Danya's side, but it's still being presented as like, oh, it's like a controversial thing that people are talking about versus just like some nonsense that no one believes.
Well, I just want to say it was immediately evident that it was a mistake because the guy in my convo with him was completely unhinged. He would not stop to take any kind of feedback. He wasn't reflecting. He was just saying the same thing over and over. So I got to experience the flood of nonsense that the dude was just on with no hint of reflection or questions going on in his mind. So it was immediate. That was already like, I was like, oh,
no, Jesse,
no.
Kostya's referring to the later podcast we did without
we then did a podcast, the three of us.
We did a shorter follow-up with the three of us.
Okay, but I just want to say that one was, to me, when I reflect on, when we, like David brought up the interesting point of like, what could we as a community have done better? And to me, that's like, when I think about my own personal responsibility, I go back to that one. I was like, oh man, I wish I could do a take back on that one. Just having the dude even on the show, it was just like, oh, what a disaster. And it was also terrible content. It was just like when you got somebody spewing and it's just like, oh God, help me stop. And I just want to stress for people, for an older generation like myself, Kramnik was a beautiful chess player. I mean, really beautiful chess player. Kasparov recognized it in the 90s, and he's just like, this is the kid who is the next coming. This kid is amazing. And then the whole weirdness with Shirov not getting to play the world championship title has to do with Kasparov wanting the challenge in the same way that Magnus wanted to play Fallujah later, right? And then, I was a huge supporter when Toiletgate happened. If you don't know what that is, that's when Topolov's nasty manager concocted this thing with Kramnik cheating in the toilet in the 2006 World Championship. I was a huge supporter. I was a huge supporter in that case. Part of me is still mad at Topolov and Danilov about that episode, right? And so so when I took that call, when I did the podcast, I felt he was unhinged, but I'm like, as a chess fan, this guy was amazing, right? So it's this, and you see it, for example, in this great letter that Levon wrote to Kramnik. You see it when the letter that Wesley So wrote to Kramnik. And for these people as well, what a monumental figure for their own chess education, right? And then to have it come to this, it's just like, oh man, this is really hard. So it's hard for people to unplatform their heroes, as it
Well, no,
was.
I mean, yeah, we gave him a lot of benefit of the doubt. I mean, I don't think it was a mistake to have him on. I mean, that was like December 2023.
Was it
Right. So this was, he hadn't, I don't think he had started like really going after players so aggressively
Oh no,
just yet.
he was definitely launching some bombs at that point, man. He was going after it.
he had started, but to me, it was, maybe I should have been more on top of the matter or whatever. But to me, it was not as clear before that he had lost all rationality around the topic, So it was not yet clear to me that he couldn't be reasoned with, that he couldn't discuss things.
I was convinced, by the way. I was like, well, I can be able to talk to him in a friendly tone of voice, have him
Right.
reconsider his position. I can do that,
Yeah.
I remember it did devolve to you just begging him as a fan to stop.
I did. I begged.
Yeah, you're like, please.
just as a fan, and yeah. So maybe we should talk a little bit about like the proposed like sanctions that people have suggested. People have been calling to strip Kramnik of his like world championship title, grandmaster title. There's this huge petition now with tens of thousands of signatures. So we brought it up a little bit. I think, David, you said that there's not much point to it, and Jesse also.
Well, you mentioned that maybe FIDE should be doing something, right? And I was curious what you thought FIDE could do. And then Jesse mentioned those two things and said it wouldn't make sense to do it with Fischer. It wouldn't make sense to do it with Kramnik. I, from my, instinct, agree with Jesse. Like, I'm not sure like what it matters for FIDE to take away his title. He could still keep saying the same things he's saying, but maybe you have a different insight or perspective than us.
I was thinking about this a bit. So yeah, I don't really believe in like vengeance necessarily. Like I don't think that's kind of the right approach. And I don't think you can erase history. Like we're not just gonna forget that Kramnik was world champion. So to me, it doesn't make sense to strip him of the world championship title. Like he beat Kasparov. We all saw it. Like, I don't know. That's an important part of chess history. I think also it's kind of a little bit of like separating the art from the artist in a sense. Like, he as a chess player achieved that stuff. And I just don't think it's possible to strip him truly of his world championship status. Like you would just have to erase the memory of so many people.
Right. Then let's say you're in an argument with somebody and they say, Kramnik beat Kasparov for the world championship by playing the Berlin defense. And what are you going to do? What Berlin defense? I think we just
like no, he didn't. That title was like, it's a little silly. I do think FIDE could strip him of his grandmaster title because that I think is more of just like a symbolic gesture. And I do believe players have been stripped of their titles before for stuff that's not related. Like, okay, of course, there's like players that have been stripped because they were cheating, but I think also there have been players that were stripped for just egregious acts. And so I think there is some precedent for that. But also I just think like to me that kind of makes sense just as a community. So if someone commits, heinous crime against another chess player, like we feel like Kramnik has just gone way overboard with his attacks, not just against Danya, but against others as well. To me, it kind of does make sense that FIDE could just strip him of their grandmaster title. Just say like, no, actually, you're not a grandmaster anymore. Like what's the phrase? Cause great disrepute to the game,
Who's this?
whatever it is.
That
Of
was
course,
that was the phrase for sanctioning Karyakin with
for
a
Karyakin, right? So yeah, there was no like chess reason to remove Karyakin from the candidates. It was mainly just like he was acting in such an egregious, like, and morally bankrupt way that there was just so much outrage over it that FIDE was essentially kind of forced to act. I think there's just as much, if not probably way more outrage now. So I do think FIDE is going to end up doing something. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I don't see the issue with taking the GM title. And
I
Jesse,
mean, it doesn't stop him from doing exactly what he's doing. So what's the I don't know, impact or usefulness of such a step?
it true doesn't stop him. I think I think it's just like more of a symbolic gesture, but at least it would be something, and it might convince people. Is like FIDE is, very I don't know. They're Russians look at FIDE basically. So if Kramnik is still popular in Russian circles and they see that FIDE strips him of his title, they're like sanctioning him. I think that would affect anyone that maybe still supports him. I mean, honestly, I also feel like Kramnik is already receiving punishment. Like at this point, it seems like he's blacklisted. Like it's very hard to imagine a tournament is going to invite him as a special guest or a team is going to invite him as a coach. Just the public backlash over it would be insane. So it already feels like he will be kind of blacklisted from the community. Like he was a coach in the Olympiad in 2024. He worked with the Uzbek team. And it's like really hard to imagine that he would be back for that. I wanted to bring up actually another example on that. Let's say, because people are saying like, oh, Kramnik made all of his achievements. It's weird to take his title, like his grandmaster title, for instance, away from him. But imagine he was caught helping some team cheat in the Olympiad. Like he orchestrated some huge cheating thing and he was helping his players cheat. Then it would kind of make sense to strip him of his GM title, like as a punishment for that, right? Because it's just like such a heinous crime against the game. Even though, again, it doesn't change the past. It doesn't change the fact that he earned his GM title honestly and all this stuff. But so I don't know. To me, that is a punishment that seems to make sense against the player that FIDE feels like they need to sanction.
The point of it is largely that it would be like FIDE saying, we are taking an official position that like the guy is just spouting nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, not just spouting nonsense. So that's the difference between him and Fischer.
Hurtful nonsense.
Yeah, like Fischer, okay, said all this kind of insane stuff, but it was never like he was going. It wasn't the same thing. Like Kramnik had a targeted campaign against Naroditsky, like video after video, tweet after tweet, post after post, basically ruining the guy's reputation single-handedly or staining it.
I mean, Fischer was saying that Kasparov and Karpov were cheaters. It's pretty similar. He just didn't have social media. If Fischer had social media, I imagine he would have posted on that subject more than once.
Oh yeah.
Because I think he thought about it every day.
Yeah.
Is my guess.
And well, yeah, and then he likely would have been able to cause more damage than he did.
Yeah. Something where I've reflecting on a past position I've taken is, for many years I've been outspoken against Chess.com and Danny Rensch about not disclose how they dealt with cheaters. And so one of the things they did, and it's changed now, but one of the things they did, I want to just bring it up here, is for years what would happen is if you were a titled player, you would get you got caught cheating, right? And the algo, I think, is very good. It is very good at detecting cheating. It would give you like a warning, and then it would let you come back. And then there might be I think it originally was even like you had 3 strikes until you were finally out. And I thought that was obscene. And I also knew, Danny had told me this too, He even offered to let me see the list. He said, "Dude, there's so many titled players that have been caught cheating. If you sign an NDA, I'll let you see the list." I was like, "No, I don't want to see it, but I trust you. I trust you. He was like, "You're gonna recognize a lot of these names. You're gonna know these people." And so the take back or thing I'm reflecting on is when you then read in Danny's memoir about the Neiman situation, what happened there was very similar, where he did not want to disclose Neiman when he was cheating. And it was also because at the time he was underage. And so a lot of this stuff, he was with the cheating allegations, he was really, really trying to keep it under wraps. And from my cynical point of view, that was just for Chess.com to avoid lawsuits. In hindsight, I think I can do a take back and say, well, wait a second, there might have been really a truly generous intuition on Danny's part in the way this thing went down. Now, we can criticize as much as we want about how that Chess.com policy played out. Did it encourage cheating? Yada, yada. But I think it's fair to say, especially in hindsight, that the intuition was not just legal consequences, but that you would really be radically ruining these people's lives when you made the accusation. And so therefore, the intuition was, well, let's just keep it all under wraps. And Danny had loads of conversations with Neiman and others being like, dude, you got to stop. We don't want to make this public, yada, yada. So that's, for me, an interesting reflection where it's almost like he sensed the kind of drama that a cheating allegation could bring up. And back in, years, we've talked about this so many times in the podcast, and I was always like, make that list public. Make it public, make it public. If they cheated, they should have some kind of consequence. And part of me still feels that, but I understand now the other side of the argument much better.
Jesse, I thought what Kostya just said about removing the GM title made some sense. My original thought had been like asking FIDE to do something, like maybe because I don't respect FIDE, it just seemed kind of silly to me. Like, who's going to care what FIDE says? But just the idea that, like, at least symbolically it would be them like taking a clear position about Kramnik's behavior and sort of in support in a way of everyone that Kramnik's going after. I feel like what Kostya said kind of made sense. Did it have any impact?
I don't think
your thoughts on it?
I don't. If they did it, I wouldn't mind. But on the other hand, like, I don't trust them either. Right. Especially from a long-term policy thing where they're gonna punish certain people based on public outrage. And how would Chess.com have the ability to make these kinds of decisions? So I wouldn't mind it. It's also very inconsequential, and I don't think I think it would embolden those Russian trolls more than it would dissuade them from their little quests.
I mean, somebody like Kramnik who is just set in his beliefs at this point,
right? For
him, it'll just be another conspiracy, right? Another hack job against him, blah, blah, blah. So it's not going to give him pause, like, oh, shoot, like the officials of chess, think I'm wrong,
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've given up. I was thinking, what could possibly reach Kramnik? And it's I don't know. There's no way, right? Just giving up on that aspect of it.
And I think just as a society, this is just a new problem that we're dealing with. David and I both have kids who are going to be exposed to social media stuff, and it's very powerful, especially for younger people. And we as a society have absolutely zero, as far as I can tell, or very little way to stop bullying from happening. And we have very little understanding of how that bullying plays out,
Right. Personally, because I also don't think it's important to punish Kramnik in a sense for various reasons. And I know, Kostya, you're not taking away the GM title to punish him. You're saying taking it away to make clear what FIDE thinks about everything. But you also said that to you, punishment's not important, right? What's important is, making things better for other people, right?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like most important thing would be to honor Danya, right? Number one, to kind of clear his reputation, which I think
Yeah.
people are doing. Like Magnus came out and said he never was suspicious of Danya. Fabi said it, I mean, on his podcast long ago, but yeah, I mean, a lot of players have like reiterated that they weren't suspicious of Danya. So I think that part is really important, just like clearing his name and honoring his
Mhm.
love for chess, honestly, is what I've been thinking about. It's just like,
Mhm.
I think, um, I don't want to speculate, but I feel like he would have wanted people to focus on the chess and not on the stupid drama.
Yeah. I also like have just sort of a general belief about society and justice and punishment and stuff like that, that punishment is not so important as, protecting good things, good people and good things that are out there, right? So like if you take somebody who's done some crime and you put them in jail, it's, for me, it's not because you want them to suffer because they made somebody else suffer, right? Like the point of doing it would be to protect other people from the next thing they might do, right? Um, so to me, in general, punishment's not like a very important thing. And then I also think that Kramnik is just, I mean, I think he's lost it long ago, right? I don't think like he's at any point, but for a long time at least, I don't think he's operated out of malevolence or anything like that. I think he's just, well, I think he's crazy, right? So I don't feel like a need to punish crazy people. I think the most important thing we can do is protect truth and protect other people, right? So what we can do is protect other people from Kramnik or people like Kramnik who might go after them in the future, right? We just have to come together and protect people. So when I was thinking this past week about what we can do, I was like, who are other people that Kramnik has, made these accusations about? Maybe instead of petitioning for something to happen to Kramnik, I could think of some way to support those people, right? So I composed a message of support and sympathy to David Navarra, right? That's what I did this week, and then I couldn't find any way to send it to him. I don't know. All his account is like blocked. You can't send him messages if you're not his friend. You can't post in his. I'd read his blogs before, where he talked about. He posted 2 long blogs about his experience with this, right? But I found that the comment sections are locked, so I couldn't even post there like, hi, I'm trying to reach you with this message. But despite failing at that was kind of like what I came up with as far as what can we do about a situation like this. Let's even take Kramnik out of it, right? What can we do about internet bullying, right? What can we do about people posting really mean things about other people online consistently, harassingly, right? I think the most important thing we can do is not going after those people or even deplatforming them, which you could do, but I think the most important thing is to support the targets, right? Give them messages of, support and caring and so forth, so they feel strong enough to hopefully survive the harassment that's coming in.
Yeah, so I mean, people don't let it get to them because I mean, yeah, I don't think like we can put the internet back into the bottle. It's like over the last several years, it's just gone on like more toxic, more hateful, and just like more fake. Like now there's just fake accounts whose only job is to argue and spread toxicity. It's not even like people have a genuine disagreement and they're arguing with each other and it's getting really heated. It's just bots and trolls that drive hate. And so yeah, I think we like have to like collectively try to use the internet less somehow.
Wow. Kostya with an old man position there. Leery of the technology.
No, I don't think it's. No, it's just like. I mean, it's okay. It's clear. It's clear now. Like with the AI, right? It's just like you don't even know what's real anymore half the time.
Right. Like, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, even about like the sort of like deplatforming kind of stuff, right? I don't think it's so bad to like try to talk to Kramnik once, and if you can't make any progress, then give up on it, right? But I don't think people need to be kicked off of things and, censored and all that. I think it's better to like engage once, and if it can't go anywhere, then disengage, and then support each other, right? So like Nihal said that he got accused by Kramnik and it didn't bother him very much, right? And what did he explain? First of all, he said, I like did well in some online blitz events, so I knew it was inevitable that I was going to be attacked by him. So he saw it coming, right? And then secondly, but I think this is the big thing. He said, my friends, my family, my coaches, like everybody, like, supported me, and I didn't let it, he didn't let it get to him, largely because of that, I think, right? Because he received enough support. And so I think what we can do positively is provide enough support to people.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's the fault of friends or anybody who didn't post soon enough or enough what happened, right? I'm just thinking that the best thing that we can do is to provide as much support to each other as we can.
Yeah. No, I think I think I would agree with that. Yeah.
Well, should we end it there, gentlemen?
Um,
Final thoughts?
yeah, I don't know. I think I guess I'll just say it's been really nice to see all of the love for Danya this last week. All
Mhm.
the nice things people have written about him and stories they've shared. Like, as a community, it seems like everyone feels like they collectively knew him, even if they never met him. And for people that did meet him, I mean, it's like it's really special to hear stories that you didn't know about because it's just like, oh, it's getting a new glimpse of Danya. So, yeah, that's, I mean, that's been really, really touching just how much the community has gone together. So,
Mhm.
one very small bright spot.
Yeah.